Okay, so I've started a recording. Hello and welcome everybody. Ron obviously cannot attend this meeting. He's on maternity leave or supposed to be in some sort. Um, I would like to hold a session or at least take part of the session of today to discuss some highlights from Google I/O. As some of you may know, I attended the conference this year, and there were some very interesting announcements and some things that might be very relevant to us. There are also some nice product announcements that I will share with you if you guys are interested in hearing what's new with the Google world in general. I created this short presentation. I didn't have too much time to work on it, so I hope it will be sufficient and will cover the most important things. So let's just start. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the middle. I also created the Slack channel where I created some sort of an online blog where I documented everything that was relevant and all the major announcements, but all of them are going to be covered here. I based my presentation here on what I wrote on Slack and some other stuff. So I guess it will be a nice recap for everything that we covered there. Okay, so starting with the product announcement, I'm going from general wise to things that are more and more relevant to us. Finally, I will get to Android and the things that we need to take into consideration. But some product announcements. So Google announced there weren't too many new products announced, but there were some improvements to current Google products. Google Lens. Google Lens is a new technology or service, not necessarily an app, that is integrated into many Google services, such as Google Assistant and Google Photos. Basically, it's an engine of image processing and image analysis to be able to identify what you see in an image. For example, you walk on the street, you see a sign of a show or a concert that is of interest. You can take a photo of it, and then you send it to Google. It analyzes it and tell you what you're seeing. There used to be an app called Google Goggles, if you guys are familiar with it, a few years back. So this is a similar sense, but this time it's not an app, it's a service that is integrated into other Google services. In Google Photos, for example, it will be used for recognizing faces, and you'll get the suggestions of sharing photos with people who are who are recognized in the picture.
It's part of the SDK or it's a website?
It's a service. Yeah, it's a service that Google offers. It's not an Android SDK or any SDK.
So it's websites.
Yeah, it's a service. Yeah, that is integrated into other Google services. This is Google Lens. Google Home improvements. Google Home is the speaker. Let's call it the first Internet of Things initiative from Google that is actually a product. The speaker that you can speak to and ask questions and get Google information from. So now it has become a phone. You can say, okay, Google, call this number, and it will dial. Free calls in US and Canada. It also gives proactive suggestions. It automatically connects to the calendar, and then instead of you asking what's on my agenda, it will pop up and say, you have this meeting in your agenda in 2 hours. You should probably get out of the house and leave. It also integrates with the Chromecast to display search results on the TV. So Google is investing some effort in the home area. And Google Photos, like I said earlier, there are some enhancements like the suggested sharing photos with people who are recognized from within the photos. You can share libraries with other people to share common photos and share instantly all the photos that you take together. And also enhancement in the Daydream world, the VR, which is also a market that is starting to emerge in different technology providers, and Google is not staying behind. So there are more phones that are coming for Daydream to be supported in the standard Google Visual, and there's going to be a standalone VR device also. This is one of the product announcements that is coming soon. As for development announcement, there are some new APIs in the cloud area. I can say that my impression from many things that were said in Google I/O, that Google is investing most of its effort currently in artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is their main talk these days. Everything you hear is around TensorFlow, which is an open source library that Google started to provide machine learning capabilities for developers in all their aspects. So machine learning and artificial intelligence is definitely in focus. And so Firebase API has also exposed some nice new services with machine learning. You have the Vision API, where you can analyze photos using services from Google, and Speech API, Jobs API for searching jobs online. So a lot of concentration in that area. And some more related, Android related, but not necessarily specific Android. Google Play may be related. Google Play Protect is a new service from Google. People say that Google do not monitor and do not scan apps that are raised, that are uploaded to Google Play. And obviously this is not true. And now Google is also showing end users that they are scanning apps using the Google Play Protect. It's some sort of looks like an antivirus scan for apps that are installed on your device. And now users can see.
Guy?
Yeah?
Guy?
Yeah?
You're extremely cut off. I couldn't hear the last 2 minutes.
Okay. I started talking on new Play services. Google Play Protect, for example, which is something similar to a antivirus scan, but it's generally all malicious software scan for all the apps on your device. This is something that is visible to users, and now they can see in Google Play how their apps, if there are suspicious apps that are installed on their devices.
It will be included only in the new versions.
Of the OS? No, Google Play Protect is something that will be available for everybody who uses Google Play. It's just a service that they are exposing to end users to show them how their apps are behaving, how the apps that are installed on their device are behaving.
It's not part of any app or support SDK, it's just an external app.
It's part of Google Play. The Google Play app now contains a service called Google Play Protect. And it shows it has a list, if I had a screenshot, it has a list of all your apps, and it's saying your apps are safe. And if there is something suspicious about the apps, they can be flagged. And it's important for apps developers also.
They updated the Google Play like today for me.
Yeah.
So maybe it should include the Google Play.
Probably Google Play Protect is embedded inside, but this is something that is visible to users. You guys can hear us now? Everything is fine with the line now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Instant App, this is something not new. It's a smaller version of the app that is downloadable through Google Play, and you can just play with a portion of the app and not rather than installing the entire app. It's like a separate APK of a fraction of the app. Yeah, this is something that is not new. But what's new is now it's open for everyone. It was open just for a certain group of developers, and now everybody can create instant apps. If you want to create a smaller version of your app so people can download it and get the first impression before downloading it in full, this can be valuable for users as well.
Why?
So
why download twice?
No, you don't download.
Because if your APK is 50 megs, people will not download it. But if you create it as a 5 meg APK, people will download, you get the first impression, and then
generation, people will not download because of 50 megabytes.
Trust me, there was a whole lecture in Google I/O about how to minimize the size of the APK, and there are researchers that show that APKs of a certain size are not downloaded from the store, and this is something that we also need to consider. Moving on to the more relevant parts for us. So what's new in Android? Android O is obviously not new. It was released in the preview version a few months ago, but now it was released in beta. And they demonstrated O as in two adjectives you can say: the vitals and the fluid experiences. Where vitals is where O focuses on battery life, security, startup time, and stability. So for battery life, for example, there are now in O, there's going to be limitations on the amount of background work that is allowed for apps to do.
Oh, so Facebook will fail.
Yes, if apps, then Facebook will probably have to change some things in their app. If apps are trying to do too much background work, especially when the phone is idle and not working, and they will be limited. And security, they're enforcing some new security regulation. There are things that are going to change in that area as well. And startup time and stability, of course, to make things more smooth. And the fluid experiences is just end user features that will make the user's life a little easier. For example, easier copy and paste. When you click on a text in Android O, it will automatically copy it. So you don't have to long click and then copy and then paste it somewhere else. So it's instant copy. And text views will automatically be with autofill. So you will have the ability to configure as an end user a text that you want to be autofilled, like username and password from everywhere, not just from Chrome.
Edit text, not
Yeah, edit text, sorry. Autofill will be enabled as part of the operating system. Android O is built on a modular architecture. This is called Project Treble. This is something that was not, it was announced, but it was not made too many big waves, but actually it's one of the most important announcements of I/O of this year. So Project Treble, I just want to show you something really short about it.
This is because Java 9, because Java 9 is also modular. This is
No.
might be related.
No, I'm not talking about, not the modular components. I'm talking about the OS being more modular.
Okay.
And basically Google is trying to solve the fragmentation problem and the fact that it takes manufacturers a long time to update the operating system. So they're now creating an interface. These are the apps. You guys can see the screen, right? Just making sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we have the operating system in green, and we have the apps, and we all know the interface, the developer API between the operating system and the apps. But now Google has embedded into operating system O another interface for vendor implementation. So if until today, when Google released a new version of Android, the vendor would have to create their own implementation of the operating system and only then release it outside. From this release and forward, basically the Android operating system can be updated automatically without the vendor. There is an interface between the operating system and the vendor's implementation. And Android will be able to update automatically on your Samsung or LG device without the need of having LG to update their infrastructure. And they can create their version of the next LG release independent of the next operating system release. Yeah, so basically it's another, that's the idea of another interface, the vendor interface between the operating system and the vendor implementation. And this, hopefully, starting Android O, should boost up the way devices are updated, because now they are not dependent on the manufacturers anymore. I'm not sure it's going to be that simple, but the idea is obvious, and now hopefully it will take place, and we'll see, starting Android O, we'll see an adoption rate that is significantly higher than what we are used to seeing. So this is what is called Project Treble. And another announcement that is related to Android is something called Android Go. It's basically another adjustment of the operating system to create it thinner and make it run easier on low-end devices. So Android Go is basically the ability to use Android O on and future updates on devices with 1 giga RAM or less. So basically, they are targeting what they call the next billion users, so users in developing countries and India and these sort of countries where devices are generally middle range, but they still will be able to get the most updated versions of Android. And every new Android release from now on will support Go configuration. It also takes effect on the apps themselves. So Android Go devices will be launched with thinner versions of the Android services. Like Gmail is going to be a smaller, thinner version, and other services from Google will be more lightweight. This is the Android Go announcement. And other user features in Android Go, there's the notification channels. So now for every notification that is created, I don't think we create any notifications on our own. We use external libraries, right? We create notifications. Okay, so this is important. For every notification that we create, that a developer creates, they need to set a channel or to, let's say, segment of what kind of notification this is. For example, if it's something that is promoting a notification for promotion or notification for letting the user know of updates or things like that, it has to be tagged in a specific channel, and this is mandatory starting Android Go. So we need probably to update some of our SDK to be ready for Android Go. So you need to identify what type of a message this is. This is in general, and you can't just say I will have one channel for all notification. You have to think about what types of messages you're sending and flag them as channels.
The channel is just a string? Or it's like
Yeah,
part of,
it's basically a string, but it's something that a user can control. On the end user side, the user can say, I don't want to block all notifications from this app, but I just don't want to get promotion notifications. So I'll block the promotions channel, but he will still get updates on
so when he will
things
get
that are
the
important
first
for him.
channel notification, it's like it will be displayed
Yeah,
on his
it will be displayed. I think there's going to be a color indication of the channel and the text of what is the name of the channel. Yeah, so it's going to be obvious for the user, and the user will have control on what type of channels he would like to see. This is why it is mandatory, because they are allowing users to control.
And we also can
this
control
feature.
this.
We add the channel.
No, we can control, like, display the user. We have a alert view.
No, it's a setting. It's a setting on the OS. It's a setting on the OS level. You cannot control it. No. And the user has the final say. If a user is blocking a channel, you cannot override it and deblock and unblock the channel.
I thought maybe we can add the options to the user in our app. Like,
no, I don't think.
Channel or
I don't think there is an API to control what channels are blocked. This is something that is controlled from the settings of the operating system. So in that case, if we are actually creating channels on our own, this is also another action item that needs to be added to the action items section. And I also already mentioned the background work limitations. Now, another major announcement that is related to Android, and people who read the Slack channel could see a lot of debate about it. Google now adopted officially Kotlin as a development language for Android. People refer to it as the Swift phase of Android, basically a new language that has come to replace the old one with some new features and obviously new syntax and new capabilities. Okay. So Kotlin, for those of you who don't know, I don't know this language too much. I've attended one session of introduction to Kotlin, and it seems like a very, let's say, easygoing language. It's some sort of a JavaScript type language. It's not a scripting language per se, but it's kind of a more, as I said, easygoing. No setters and getters, for example. There are properties, like you would say class dot
But they will
property.
compile to setters and getters.
Yes, and generally the transition from Java to Kotlin and backwards is seamless.
Yeah.
And is integrated within Android Studio, so you can write your code in Java and then see how it ports to Kotlin, and you can write in Kotlin and see how the Java implementation would look. One feature that they demonstrated and they were very excited about is the fact that you can write a whole class in Java with getters and setters and all the data around it, which is actually translated into a single line in Kotlin. It is called the data class in Kotlin, and it contains automatically everything that you would do in Java, in the Java implementation. Single line, but,
2,000 characters.
No, I'm not sure that this is the case. No, it's called data. I don't know what you mean by
it will
struct.
auto-generate
No,
getters and setters and hash code and
Basically, it contains many functionality that you would normally do in the Java class.
exactly.
If you are interested in, there is obviously a lot of material, and now there's going to be even more material on the internet because now that it's officially
It has many also like many features, many pluses.
Yeah, so basically it's something that has been adopted by some developers already, but now Google understand that this is something that the community is pushing towards, and they
Also
say,
Swift.
okay, we will live. Swift is different. Swift was pushed by Apple. Apple said, okay, we've come up with a new language.
But also Google now pushing.
Google is not pushing, Google is adopting, and I can say
Google
that
is adopting.
it is adopting it. It's not saying move to Kotlin, and actually people asked the Android guys in Google, should I start working in Kotlin from now on? And they said no, Java APIs are still going to be maintained and released, and we're not doing just Kotlin from this moment forward. But they did say that they see the features in Kotlin and they liked it, and it might be more and more. It will take a bigger role maybe in the future, but it's not replacing. And the recommendation is not to abandon Java for the time being. So this is for Kotlin. And the last thing about Android is that's important to know is a series of lectures that are very important and very interesting, in my opinion, that are called architecture components. The guys in Google understood that everything that was written in activities and later on in fragments in terms of life cycle and how to deal with changes in rotation and what happens to the context and activities that get destroyed while you're doing some background work, etc., etc. These are all things that all developers need to encounter, and so they came up with a new idea to make lives a little easier. So they've started a new library called architecture components. Basically, it's components that are life cycle aware. They were built to support these areas of changing rotation of the screen and losing the current life cycle. So there are 4 architecture components: the room, the view model, live data, and life cycle. And these components are there is a whole guideline that they created just for that, and it's I think maybe I've got it open here.
Room is the database, right? It's ORM.
Yeah, there is the ORM. Yeah, exactly. This is, so basically, it's a lecture. I don't have it. This is the documentation. There is a short video that just explains it. There were 3 lectures about it, and obviously the lectures were packed because all of the developers are interested in this stuff. And the first lecture was introduction, and the other 2 were some sort of a deep dive into the different components and their usages. And all the documentation here explains how these components work and how to integrate them. I personally don't think that we should deep dive into it now and just change. These are fundamental change, and basically it kind of replaces everything that you do in activities and the way you act in the activity lifecycle. So it's kind of difficult to start implementing now, but I think as an Android developer, this is something that is worth knowing and understanding, because this is an approach that is presented by Google to tackle an issue that has been that existed ever since Android was launched. So I think it's very interesting, and I recommend all of you. I attended 2 of these sessions. I have to complete one of them on video, but I recommend all of 3 lectures. They are very important. Moving on to the action items part, there are quite a few here that I wrote. Obviously, some of them are more imminent, some will take a little more time, but these are things that we need to consider. So the support library, there is a new support library, V26. It's now in beta, but it will be officially released probably in the next couple of weeks. And there are some new goodies there that we should know about, and they might make our lives a little easier. For example, fonts. Fonts are now first-class citizens as resource in Android, meaning there is an r.font. something. So there is no need to push fonts in some sort of a customized text view and then settings all sorts of attributes. Finally, Google realized that fonts are important for developers, and they are now integrating it as part of their resources library. So I guess this will mean some changes in Zap, because now if we can now use them in the standard XML and standard layouts, and this will probably take effect. There is text view auto sizing. Basically now the text view can change its size based on the amount of space that it has in the screen. That's another feature. So if there is a larger phone, the text can be bigger, and on a smaller devices, the text can be smaller, but not necessarily have to ellipsize with 3 dots at the end, because sometimes we can just say, okay, we want the text to be smaller if there's no room, but still leave the text intact. So I know that we came with some ellipsing solutions, and it might be something that need to consider for better UI and better UX.
So you just like, if you have a long text, it just becomes smaller.
Smaller in size, and you can set the minimum size that you want it to be. You don't want it to be 8 dps of text because nobody will be able to read it, obviously. But you can set some limitations. But you can set a text view to be auto sizing, and depending on the amount of space that it has, it will either shrink or get bigger.
It will support older versions?
Yes.
I'm talking about support library, and support library is supported since API 14. So basically, starting with the support library, by the way, Android is losing support for Gingerbread and for Honeycomb. So API 14, meaning we're just working from Ice Cream Sandwich and above. And I think anyway, this is our supported apps. I'm not sure about Latam if there are still implementations of 2.3, but I don't think so. Yeah, so Android support library is now API 14.
I think it's 11.
Okay, so it's even better for us. So API 14 and up, support library, all these features are relevant. And there are some other goodies, but these are the things that I chose to highlight. There is a new Google Maven repository. So this obviously is going to be a Gradle change in our system. Now maven.google.com, it's another URL to add to the repository section in Gradle for us. And Gradle build time. This is a pain point for all of us. There was a nice lecture where they demonstrated 10 things that you can do to make your Gradle builds faster.
This I didn't watch.
It's another recommended watch. I tried to think during this lecture if there are things that we actually can do, and yeah, there are at least 3 or 4 things that we can do now to try to make it happen. Although it's a project, it requires some testing, some playing with, and seeing how it affects us. And also the most important thing is to be able to measure the differences between now and after the optimization part. This is also covered in the lecture, by the way. So this is another action item to try and optimize our Gradle build. Another optimization for Gradle can be to update to Android Studio 3.0. It's now on the Canary channel. It's not official yet. It's not even in beta. But this is something that we can install in parallel to the regular Android Studio and play with the new Gradle plugin. The Gradle plugin is supposed to be a lot faster than Gradle 2.3 that we're currently using, So this can also help in speeding up build time. This is one of the recommendations of the optimization tips. So this is something that we can also try some today. However, changing the Gradle plugin to 3.0 introduces some breaking changes. So we might need to do some changes within our Gradle file. But again, this is something that it needs to be taken as a side project and start playing with, because it will probably have greater benefits in the future. Another security announcement that they said, using Android ID, Android_ID is now limited. And I don't know how many of you know, but we do indeed use Android ID for creating a device identifier. And now it is limited. It's now not, it used to be unique. Once you create it, it is unique per all apps that the user is using on the device. So it would identify a device better. Now it's not unique, it changes per user per app. So if on the same device, a different user is logging in, they will have a different Android ID. That's one thing. And per app means that the same user using different apps is generated to different Android IDs. So I think in that sense, well, maybe in the apps, we care about Android ID per app. We care that the device is identified per app. So the per app thing is something that is safe. But the per user thing is something that we need to consider. Because
what do you mean per user? How do I change?
You can add multiple users on your device.
And then, okay.
Yeah, if I want to log into your device and you allow me to use your device for a few days, I can set my own account there and use it. And I think that from this moment forward, the device will have different Android ID, will generate different Android ID. I don't know if that scenario is very meaningful, but at least it's something good to know that the usage of Android ID should be moved away from, and I think it might be a good time to start thinking about alternatives. They might make it even worse in the future, so this is something to take into consideration. We talked about APK size. There's a lecture about how to analyze the APK size and how to reduce it, duplicate resources, removing images that are not relevant, using ProGuard correctly to make sure that redundant code is removed before generating the APK. These are all valuable tips that I think we should all take into consideration. And the last tip, starting the new SDKs, there is no need for casting when using the find view by ID. Remember, the view, name of the view equals casting find view by ID. So casting is not needed anymore. You can just say view something equals find view by ID and it works. You will not get the red line saying you need to cast, because it's now solved on the SDK side. It's a small change, but it was a big pain.
If we were using some, if we were using annotation, we wouldn't have to cast anyway.
That's true. You could use data binding.
Annotation.
Yeah, data binding.
You don't need to cast.
Yeah, generally find view by ID is something that should not be used anymore, but since we are using it, so for now, until we move to data binding, we can just say remove this casting. Of course, obviously.
You're so happy.
I'm happy. I don't need to cast anymore. Okay, so this covers most of the highlights for Google I/O. The recommended lectures that I wrote here, I didn't add the links, but I can update and add links here for the architecture components, the 3 lectures, introduction and 2 deep dive into the way the architecture works. What's new in Android, what's new in the support library, these are things that I covered here. What's new in Android development tools, basically it covers Android Studio 3.0, the new features, and the introduction to Kotlin in Android Studio. Best practices to slim down your app size. This is for whoever is going to work on the APK size project. And if it's something that is concerned on the regional area, where a customer complains that they don't like how big our APK size, this is something that can be taken even in a regional fashion. And spinning up your Android Gradle builds, the 10 tips that I talked about. This is a side project that we should definitely for increasing our performance and for the sake of having a normal working environment. It is also something that needs to be addressed. Basically, these are the highlights. If you guys can think of something that I didn't cover, or you have any other comments on Android or Google I/O in general, now is the time. Or of course, if you have any questions, if you want to some clarifications on anything.
No, we covered most, I think, if not all of the things that needs to be covered.
Okay. Anything on your side, guys?
No, I'm personally good. I watched a lot of the talks already.
Okay, cool. Okay, then. We have approximately 20 minutes left. So you want to do a quick cover of the highlights of what every team is working on?
Yeah.
We have short amount of time, so it's going to be short, but let's keep it short. But yeah, I think it's still important. Okay, guys, you want to start? Pablo, James, Satanas?
Yeah, sure, I can start. So I'm working on for the feeds manager, the new feeds manager for UI Builder. I'm working on changing over from being able to use the data source ID to instead using data source URL that's going to be provided by the user that they input in the feeds manager. So just making sure that we're able to keep the old functionality and be able to integrate the new URL data source. So that's what I've been working on. I actually should have it. Well, my implementation's done. I just need to do my testing today, hopefully. So I think I should be done with that today. But that's really all I've been working on.
Okay, cool. Pablo?
Well, I was working on the same thing, same task, the UI builder stuff, trying to make a new family of cells. I have like 4 or 5 pull requests on the genetic module. So I will ask you guys, whoever, to take a look of them, to approve them. And also, yeah, there's a couple of stuff that they had to make, because like, for example, now I'm stuck on trying to assign different image keys to the UI builder, because apparently only image based work, and then for using other key other than image based, some stuff needs to be done. So I'm on that now, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else, by the way, working on the UI builder for now?
No.
Just Pablo?
I am to start working on the coding part of the UI builder. So I was gonna start today.
Yeah. So important inputs from Pablo about missing maybe some missing functionality that needs to be
I wanted
covered.
to ask Pablo, are you planning to add one more key to the image or images, or it's like going to be dynamically added or something like that?
Well, traditionally, the way it worked, you put any image key you decide, any name, on the template, and then you put it also on the CMS, and then the SDK matches. It tries to see if the CMS key matches the local key, and then it puts it on the image view holder. Now, since the UI builder doesn't have a template, we need to do that by agreement. like saying, well, when it's family, I want to support this kid, this kid, this kid, this kid. And then since it's a product decision and it involves more people opinions, I haven't done the code yet, you know. On my opinion, I think we should be compatible for all the cells, but for some reason, it's not the way it is now. But yeah, it's just that, Karid. It's having the possibility to present whatever cell you put on the CMS, whatever name of the key, like image 1, image base, image 2, image 3, whatever. It's just that.
Okay, thanks, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo. Okay. Who's next?
I can update if you want.
Please.
So I'm working on 2 features on Android that are related to the player. One of them is displaying a geo-blocking message. It's just one player, Squadio player. It's not our player. So one of them is a geo-blocking message, and the other one is quality toggle, SD versus HD thingy. It won't be like 100% this, but like it will be similar to SDHD. The geo blocking message is also related to the full SSO, so this being like on hold on our side. But yeah, it will. Yeah, I hope that it will be done finally full SSO instead of half. Yeah, so that's me.
Okay.
Okay, so there are 2 things that I'm currently doing. One is bridging the React Native to the old JS interface that we currently have. That's one. Second, I wrote, it's on pull request now, documentation about the output that the data source adapter developer should create. So if anyone wants to use it, it's on Zap book repository currently, and I know that it will be on some kind of web that I don't know if it's opened yet or not. But if you do happen to work with it, please let me know if something is wrong there or missing or not clear enough. You can ask me directly if you need it. I will send you the link.
Okay. Thank you. Ruben?
I'm mostly doing bug fixes for our apps, not something generic enough to describe here.
Subscriptions in seven sports?
I haven't started, and I don't know if I will.
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't know. For now, I don't have any update on Android.
Okay.
I already updated on iOS, on Android.
So it's just there. All right. Okay. Somebody is ringing.
Who's ringing?
Kariti?
I'm working on a hot application on the data source plugin. We have a few unsupported types there, like Atom video that is not supported from the data source. If someone will work on data source plugin, so you need to take care that we also not supported articles. Not supported, no?
No.
I don't know, but you can encounter a few issues there. So in Atom Video, for example, I had few issues, and I'm working on it. That's all. Don't have a lot to update till I finish it.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Okay, so me also, I'm working on a specific project which is Bellator, so I don't have really much to update regarding the Android. I should be done with this project by tomorrow, and then I should start with the SSO. I have made a small change today to the web view where on devices that are Lollipop and above, the web view was not allowing the content to be displayed where it has mixed content with the images and the text. So I added a flag.
Mixed content is not.
It's images and text. This is considered mixed content in the web view.
As far as I understand, mixed content, maybe it might be an example for mixed content, but mixed content is basically when you're trying to load something that is HTTP over an HTTPS protocol.
It's all for that. Yeah, because
I think it might be that the images were HTTP, whereas the entire page was HTTPS, and that's the mixed content issue. But it is related.
So I was not able to display images, only text. So this flag has solved the problem, and I have made this.
So you added a flag for allowing mixed content.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one approach. And another approach would be maybe to try to obtain all the data to be HTTPS. Mixed content is basically a security breach where you're trying to load unsecure data over a secured protocol. If the page is HTTPS and there are images that are defined HTTP, they will not be loaded because Android is blocking it. Since Lollipop, there is a restriction on what you can and cannot do on WebView.
But the pages that we show are the pages of the customer. So
if we don't have control over it and we cannot say, okay, guys, please fix your mixed content issue, then adding it as a flag, meaning that our SDK now welcomes this breach.
Yep.
But now, if Google decides, as one of the security hardening that they are doing from time to time, not to allow support mixed content anymore, then your solution will break.
This is the point I need to check. If it's an HTTP and HTTPS issue, then we should reconsider this.
Generally, mixed content as a topic is something related to security of using HTTPS and HTTP together. That's the idea.
So that's it for me.
Okay. Actually, that's a very important update because if it means that from now on our WebView supports mixed content, it's okay, but it might be for a limited time because it might be changed as a policy change by Google in the future. So we need to know about it. So as for me, we're working on the discovery project. We started quite some time ago. We haven't done much Android development. It was basically we did do Android development, but we haven't done since the last time we talked any Android development.
I did do Android development on
of
the
course.
player.
I corrected myself. Sorry, Atanas, you did great Android
Cool.
development. But we didn't do any new Android development since the last version that we released. So we are about to start this project now. But on another note, I will be working on a slight change in the Google Analytics plugin, where it is currently in one of our implementations for ProSieben. There is a thing with the with the client reporting twice. Duplicate reports on the same user. And that's because the ProSieben implementation, the player is integrating Google Analytics, have their own implementation of Google Analytics, and there is an issue with using the method setClientID in Google Analytics, where the implementation by ProSieben is not using a client ID, and we are using a client ID in our plugin. And this causes this duplicate reporting. So we're going to modify the plugin, and we're going to add a flag to not set the client ID. By default, it will be set if the flag is not marked, but we are adding an ability to not set the client ID and fix our duplication issue. It should not influence existing implementation, but just for you to know that this is a feature. A client ID is basically it's some sort of an identifier to better identify the user that is using the device. But
can I explain it, Guy?
Yeah.
want to use it.
It's
A client ID.
yeah. Please, Atanas, go ahead.
A client ID in Google Analytics context is the ID that you're using for analytics purposes for your device. Yeah. So if you have another device, the same app, you will have a different client ID. It is different from user ID in Google Analytics context.
Okay.
In Google Analytics, you have user ID, which consists of more than one client ID. It is getting all the client IDs, and it's the top of the hierarchy.
Yeah, so it's a device.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and we are setting the custom client ID to something that we are using for other analytics providers, and this something is not according to Google specification. So Google may decide to drop support of our IDs, and then theoretically all our clients will lose their analytics data.
Yeah,
Practically, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys, did you say anything?
Yeah, we're setting the device ID, which is not what Google would expect us to use in the client ID field for Google Analytics. But that's the current implementation. The specific problem with us is that the fact that we are using some sort of a client ID, and the other implementation, they are not using the client ID at all.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is basically bypass the set client ID in the plugin by adding a flag not to set it if
and then it won't be duplicated. Like it will be duplicated.
In this, if client ID is not set anywhere, this is according to some testing that Atanas did. If client ID is not set in both implementation, it should be identified as the same user, because Google will set some sort of a device ID that is mutual to both.
The same user, but the same user make two requests, like two events.
But it will be reported as the same device. That's the thing. That's the important issue. Now,
yes, so
reported as two different devices.
Shall I explain what I did? Like, if you use two different trackers in the same app, and you don't set the client ID, my tests aggregated the results, and the same client ID was used, and the sessions were merged. Yeah, this is what I got. The problem is that this behavior is not documented anywhere. I couldn't find any documentation about it.
Yeah.
If it fails for whatever reason, I don't know what, then there's a way to deal with this as well. And it is actually to implement what Google is suggesting, and it is expose the Google tracker in your application class.
Yeah. And now so both implementations, the player and the app, will use the same tracker, and not just not set the client ID. Okay, hopefully the first solution will work, and they'll be fine with it, and it's just a workaround on the plugin side. So this is going to be my next Android task, and that's it. I think with that, it's 5 p.m. sharp. I think with that we can conclude our session, unless anybody has anything else to say, to add.
I have anything else to say. It's 3 p.m. sharp.
Sorry?
I'm just joking.
Oh,
it's 3 p.m. sharp here in London.
12. Yeah. Sorry. All right.
Okay.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.